Hi and welcome to another episode, and what we've got here is, oh no, just my giant mouse mat. As I'm sure you can tell from the title, is these are things that I've purchased, built myself maybe, and not actually got around to actually using, which is very, very sad. So what I want to do is make myself feel guilty that these things are just sitting there gathering dust, instead of actually either making an episode on it or actually me using the thing. So let's start off with this, which is this thing, a couple of wires, and in the cap there is we have, I bought this off of eBay, and what it is that you stick it in your Amiga 1200, 600, I think for the way that the bottom part of it goes, into your GoTech, which I have to figure out the wiring for, so that you can use the dial to select the different images you've already pre-set up, and you can even select that particular floppy image. So that's one of the things that I want to stick in there, because for the followers of my channel, you'll know that I've got an Amiga 1200, I've got the GoTech in there, I've got a Vampire 1200 accelerator card, and 240 gigabytes of MSATA in there. So not like I've ever mentioned that one before, but yes, that's something I want to stick in there, because sometimes having images comes in really handy, of different things, because it just does. It's an easier way of doing things. Speaking of the 1200, I've also got this little thing, and the whole idea is that you hook it up to the Vampire 1200 accelerator card, and this allows you to have a network port. And I've already got things to get the Amiga on my network and go on the internet and things like that, but I normally use Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi in this particular room is a bit on the weak side. I do use repeaters and things, but I don't really like using them. So I'm going to use a direct line, Ethernet line. So that's what this one's for. I've just got to get it in there. Did purchase the card and the cable separately, and I've 3D printed the little back panel that goes at the back right of the Amiga 1200, if you've ever seen one. Goes in there. So, well, that's one thing. As I say, I didn't print the case on this one. I did purchase all of that in one go, but I did 3D print this particular one. I could have built one of these myself, but I couldn't be bothered. Right, let's move on to a different computer, the Commodore 64. Now this is a 1530 USB, and what this allows you to do is to hook up that particular data set, basically a tape recorder from the Commodore 64, and stick it in your PC. I'm assuming it works on Mac as well, because really all it is a USB sound card. And you use some kind of software, audio software and stuff, to put the audio that's on a cassette that you've already got on your computer back to a cassette, or you can take the audio from the cassette and put it on your computer. So that I'm sure people build these themselves, but again, I just purchased that off of eBay. I'll let you search these different things, because I don't want to promote a particular seller when there's more than one, because it all might not come down to if prices have shifted and things like that. But they're very easy to find on eBay. And another one where I bought the board, 3D printed the case myself, is this little adapter. Can go into most computers, but the idea is that you can switch. Well, basically what you do is you get your 2-button joystick, and you do it so that you can change it so that up is also the second fire button, if you so wish. So that for people that are not used to playing joystick games where it's just a joystick and one fire button, and you push up on the joystick to jump, you can change that so that it's a different button. So that's a good little gadget to have. And then let's move on to the Roland MT32, a cap kit. Basically, I want to replace the capacitors that are in my Roland MT32 first version, in the hopes of giving it a longer life, quite frankly. I am very, not very scared, but I am concerned, let's put it that way maybe, that I don't mess things up, because I really don't want to mess things up, because replacing an MT32 is rather expensive. but I had to import this from America, from console5.com. They're not affiliated or anything like that. I've purchased this off my own backing. Well, basically the money that I get from patrons I've used to buy this pack. And sticking with the MT32, I did read on a forum that maybe if the display is going a bit over bright and things, you can stick one of these in and it'll will bring the brightness down a little bit, because there isn't one built in. So you mess around, stick one of these in, and basically it's a variable resistor, and you can bring the brightness down a bit. Hopefully that's a mod that works, because the display on my MT32 is a bit over bright. It's not because I'm using a third-party power supply, because I actually managed to get hold of a real MT32 Roland, a real Roland MT32 power supply now, and same difference. So I really don't see why people are picking on the third-party modern kind of power supplies, because it causes the same problem. So hopefully that fixes it. This whole thing I will definitely be making a episode out of, if it works. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go sit in a corner and cry. But yes, there's that one. And then let's see the giant things I've got here. I've got a Raspberry Pi 3, if I can get this thing to come out of the bag. I bought a case for it. Now the case is a very nice case, but the one thing you can do with this case is take the back off. I've already been playing around a little bit. I've got heat sinks and stuff on. What I want to do is mess around with all the other funny little bits, and here we go. Stick a display on it. That's what I want to do, because the display can sit there. Quite frankly, it can sit right there, and the whole point of that is so that all this hooks up to my 3D printer, and I get a nice little display of what's happening as it's currently printing, and also gives me access of sending things to print off to it from a distance, instead of running backwards and forwards with an SD card, which is really neither here or there for me, because the 3D printer, as people have seen from my tour episode, which you can go find on YouTube, just don't sign in first if you've not seen it. Basically, it's in a different room and I can take an SD card, but it'd be nice to see remotely how far along in a print it's currently doing. So that's really what I want to use it for. It is touchscreen and stuff. I doubt I'll use that side of it, but that's something I want to get hooked up and going. But again, I bought this months ago and still haven't got around to doing it. So let me clear this little pile out of the way and start another little pile. So we end up with this, which is a, what's it called? A Dream-Eyed Reborn Revision .02, all the way from gametracks.com.br. I purchased it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and basically I never actually got to install it into the Dreamcast I wanted to do, because I was trying to do other mods on it, and they sort of worked and then stopped working, and I thought, meh, I can't be bothered to do it with the rest of it. So it's a shame, because I really should have bothered to get on with doing it. I've got 4 Dreamcasts kicking about, I believe, and I want to breathe life into at least 2 of them, maybe all 4 of them. But this, you would solder to the bottom of your main motherboard of the Dreamcast. I'm not too sure which way around it went, maybe like that. And the idea is that you would drill a hole in the back of your case, and you would have an eyed adapter sticking out the back. So you could stick in a eyed, say 2.5-inch hard drive, so that you could play games directly from a hard drive. But you had to have a special modded ROM chip inside to make life easier, and I just never got round to doing it, which is sad. So that's a future project which I may or may not show on the channel, but it is one that I should get round to doing. To go along with that, of course, I've purchased a eyed cable, or a PATA cable. I believe it's by the thinness of the wires, it's an 80 cable one. It's 40 pin obviously, but it's 80 wire, just so that you get a slightly better connection. They are getting more and more difficult to find, these kinds of cables. A straight up and down adapter, I can't remember if I bought a straight up and down one because it came with a curved one, a right angle one, or I bought a right angle one because I wanted a curved one, because this isn't the only adapter I've purchased this year. These I bought this year because I was going to start again, because the new PCB you can do, which is a lot simpler to solder in, is to go on the bottom of a certain type of basically the whole drive mechanism has its own PCB, and that goes in, but you can solder that in there, which is called a Dreamcast GDI'd. There we go, GDI'd, the whole GDI'd thing can go in there. So the idea is you solder all those points in, which is a lot of solder points. And I can't remember if I bought a right angle or a straight one to go out the back, out of there, because of what I need it for. So there's that. To get power, you need a floppy, a Molex2 floppy, because what you want dangling out the back nowadays instead of a hard drive is an eyed to compact flash converter, which basically looks like this, and it's a bootable version. Let's open this up. I've really only ever opened this up to have a look at it and then put it back in its packet. It's a tiny little thing. You get a compact flash, stick that in the back, and you can load your games from here. But again, you still need like a fancy ROM to get going. Now, I have bought a few mod chips over the years of different ones. This one is, was it free? Well, let's actually quickly open it up. But there's a few resistors and things that you can mess around and do an LED mod so that you know which ROM you're actually looking at. Free Zone, and the other one is GDI'd. So there we go. So we've got some LEDs to do, you know, that kind of fancy thing. You only need the one, but you know, you end up buying loads at once. So we've got that, and then to skip in between the two, you can also plug one of these in, or solder one of these in, because that makes life easier, because things have moved on a lot since the first time I wanted to do it. But yeah, as you can see, I've purchased a fair few things to get going. So I bought some other mod chips as well, because other people seem to have different ideas on what you need to use. Because I also have got, as I say, I think it's 4 Dreamcasts, and if anything, I just want to be able to bring them back to life. So this is a bootloader dev kit, BIOS, with wires and things to go along with the adapter, and this one is another bootloader dev kit. So there we go. Seem to think I bought different ones, but anyway, a couple of them to get going. In the Dreamcast, there's the whole thing of where the 4 ports at the front, they can go wrong at times, and basically different people had different ideas of which capacitors to stick in. So I bought, well, technically sort of one of each, as it were. It's amazing on how expensive that can start adding up. And then there's the battery mod that you can do, because the battery that also happens to be in where the controllers are for the real-time clock, it's a soldered in battery. You can't just slot it in and out and replace it. So I bought the adapters so that I can do that. I've done that once before for the batteries, so I'll get what they look like in a moment. Basically, you can buy a very expensive, for where it is, a ML2032 battery, which is supposedly the best kind of replacement battery you can use, because you can recharge that battery. I know some people don't bother now, they just stick in a CR2032 and then mod it so that you're not actually charging the battery, because obviously you wouldn't want to charge one of those because they're not supposed to be chargeable. But these batteries are rechargeable. I purchased another style of battery because people were using that for a while, but well, all the sticky gluey stuff, I can't even tell you which one it is now. I think it's an LR2032, but they pump out 3.6 volts, which is a little bit too high as far as I remember. But people have been getting away with it, so I'll stick maybe them into my Dreamcast I'm not really using. But I did buy supposedly the correct voltage one. What does it even say on there, the correct voltage? Yeah, which is just directly 3 volts when it's recharged. But they'll all fit at your own risk be it. I'll talk about it more when I actually make an episode, but yeah, that was the correct one. So let me just get you the adapters that I use for that. Here we go. But 1 or 2 of them. Yeah. Anyway, you can stick these into your Dreamcast. You only need the one. Basically what you do is you desolder where the soldered in battery is. You desolder it and you stick one of these in just the right way. You have to make sure that the pins at that style. Is it going to focus? Come on, focus properly. Why the cameras never want to focus? It's because of the shiny bit, isn't it? There we go. The pin outs have to be just like that to make it fit nicely anyway. And you can slot a battery in and out. Plus at the front, so, and it just makes it a lot easier for when this battery does die, as in it dies sort of thing. You can easily replace it instead of having to desolder the whole battery thing again. So it's worthwhile getting yourself some of these. It's all things that are out there on the internet. If you don't want to wait for my episode on how to do it, or other people showing you how to do it, which I'm sure they'll make far superior videos than me, but I've got to start somewhere. But for my channel, it's to try to show noobs that I'm a noob, and if I can do it, you must be able to do it as well. It's sort of that idea anyway. But we have all of that. You need to buy the one, but it was actually cheaper. Seriously, it was actually cheaper to buy a load and have it come in on a slow boat from China than it was to buy one here in the UK. That's just ridiculous, but that's the way it is. Speaking of the Dreamcast still, I know I'm waffling, but surely I'm nearly finished, and I really am. I did 3D print these out because in the Dreamcast it has a built-in fan, and I wanted it so that it's quieter on the fan being used. And obviously I've printed these out, but I've not even taken off the extra, starty bits at the side, because what I want to do is stick in a Noctua NF A4X10 5V, or a 40 by 10mm premium fan, 5 volts version, so that it's all nice and quieter in there. It'll still make a bit of a hum, but it'll be quieter than it would be if just using, or basically just using what's in there in the first place. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Yes, as you can see, lots of things should have been done by now. I will get around to doing them. I know I only make 1 episode a week most of the time. That's probably how things will stay for quite some time. As always, happy gaming.